Complete Guide to Home Canning.
Getting it to the farm.
USDA Agriculture Information Bulletin 539, revised 2015. Complete Guide to Home Canning. Introduction. Caution. All home-canned foods should be canned according to the procedures in this guide. Low acid and tomato foods not canned according to the recommendations in this publication or according to other USDA-endorsed recommendations present a risk of botulism. If it is possible that any deviation from the USDA-endorsed methods has occurred, to prevent risk of botulism, low acid and tomato foods should be boiled in a saucepan before consuming, even if you detect no signs of spoilage. At altitudes below 1,000 feet, boil foods for 10 minutes. An additional minute of boiling time is added for each additional 1,000 feet elevation. However, this is not intended to serve as a recommendation for consuming foods known to be significantly underprocessed according to the current standards and recommended methods. It's not a guarantee that all possible defects and hazards with non-recommended methods could be overcome by this boiling process. The recommendation is to only can low acid and tomato foods according to the procedures in this guide. Reference to commercial products and services is made with understanding that no discrimination is intended or no endorsements by the USDA is implied. Clear Gel and Splenda are mentioned because they are the only suitable products presently available to the general product for the stated purposes in given products. Preface. Home canning has changed greatly in the 180 years since it was introduced as a way to preserve food. Scientists have found ways to produce safer, higher quality products. The first part of this publication explains the scientific principles on which canning techniques are based, discusses canning equipment, and describes the proper use of jars and lids. It describes basic canning ingredients and procedures and how to use them to achieve safe, high-quality canned products. Finally, it helps you decide whether or not and how much to can. The second part of this publication is a series of canning guides for specific foods. These guides offer detailed directions for making sugar syrups and for canning fruits and fruit products, tomatoes and tomato products, vegetables, red meats, poultry, seafoods, and pickles and relishes. Handy guidelines for choosing the right quantities and quality of raw foods accompany each set of directions for fruits, tomatoes, and vegetables. Most recipes are designed to yield a full canner load of pints or quarts. Finally, processing adjustments for altitudes above sea level are given for each food. This publication contains many new research-based recommendations for canning safer and better quality food at home. It is an invaluable resource book for persons who are canning food for the first time. Experienced canners will find updated information to help them improve their canning practices. Research is continually being conducted in areas that affect food preservation recommendations. Make sure your food preservation information is always current with up-to-date tested guidelines. For safety's sake, pressure canning is the only recommended method for canning meat, poultry, seafood, and vegetables. The bacterium Clostridium botulinum is destroyed in low-acid foods when they are processed at the correct time and pressure in pressure canners. Using boiling water canners for these food poses a real risk of botulism poisoning. If Clostridium bacterium survive and grow inside a sealed jar of food, they can produce a poisonous toxin. Even a taste of food containing this toxin can be fatal. Boiling food 10 minutes at altitudes below 1,000 feet should destroy this poison when it's present. For altitudes at or above 1,000 feet, add an additional minute per 1,000 feet additional elevation. Caution: to prevent the risk of botulism, low acid and tomato foods not canned according to the recommendations should be boiled as above in a saucepan before consuming, even if you detect no signs of spoilage. As above, this is not intended to serve as a recommendation for consuming foods known to be significantly underprocessed according to the current standards and recommended methods. Likewise, it is not a guarantee that all possible defects and hazards with other methods could be overcome by this boiling process. All low-acid foods, canned according to approved recommendations, may be eaten without boiling them when you are sure of the following: the food was processed in a pressure canner. The gauge of the pressure canner was accurate. Up-to-date researched process times and pressures were used for the size of jar, the style of pack, and the kind of food being canned. The process time and the pressure recommended for sterilizing the food at your altitude was followed. That the jar is firmly sealed and concave. Nothing is leaked from the jar, and no liquid spurts out when jar is opened, or no unnatural or off odors can be detected. Does your canned food pass this test? Overall appearance: good proportion of solid to liquid. Full pack with proper head space. Liquid just covering solids. Free of air bubbles. Free of imperfections, stems, cores, or seeds. Has a good seal. That the practical pack is done quickly and easily. Fruits and vegetables. Pieces are uniform size and shape with characteristic uniform color. The shape has been retained, not broken or mushy, and with proper maturity of the fruit and vegetable. Also, is your liquid or syrup clear and free of sediment? Determining your altitude above sea level. It's important to know your approximate elevation or altitude above sea level in order to determine a safe processing time for canned foods. Since the boiling temperature of liquid is lower at higher elevations, it's critical that additional time be given for the safe processing of foods at altitudes above sea level. It's not practical to include a list of altitudes, since there's a wide range of variation within a given state or even within a county. For example, the state of Kansas has areas with altitudes varying between 75 feet to 4,039 feet above sea level. While Kansas is not generally thought to have high altitudes, there are many areas of the state where adjustments for altitude must be considered. Colorado, on the other hand, has people living in areas from 3,000 to 10,000 feet above sea level. They tend to be more conscious of the need to make altitude adjustments in various processing schedules. To list altitudes in specific counties may also actually be misleading due to differences in geographic terrain within a county. If you're not sure of the altitude where you will be canning foods, consult your county extension agent. An alternate source of information could be your local district conservationist of the Soil Conservation Service. This bulletin will be broken up into several videos covering Guide 1, The Principles of Home Canning, Glossary of Terms and Index of Foods. Guide 2, Selecting, Preparing, and Canning Fruit and Fruit Products, including fruit salsas and pie fillings. Guide 3, Selecting, Preparing, and Canning Tomatoes and Tomato Products. Guide 4, Selecting, Preparing, and Canning Vegetables and Vegetable Products. Guide 5, Preparing and Canning Poultry, Red Meat, and Seafood. Guide 6, Preparing and Canning Fermented Foods and Pickled Vegetables. Guide 7, Preparing and Canning Jams and Jellies.
And I feel like New York City. Get me to the farm.